Well, it's a good afternoon from the studios of Brisbane, Australia for Radio FM88. And naturally enough, at the very top of the Northern Hemisphere is our co-host, Andrena. And she's broadcasting today from Glastonbury. And the modern marvels of communication, our guest in the middle there is from the United States. So without further ado, Andrena, would you like to take it away?
Thank you, Jeffrey. Good morning, good day, and welcome to everybody who's listening to Dreaming the New Dream today. And it is my great pleasure to have Mark Patterson on the show, who is now 5 a.m. for Mark. So welcome, Mark. It's so lovely to see you and have you on the show.
Oh, thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
No, it's our pleasure, and I can't wait for you to share your story. So for people that don't know you, you had a near-death experience. Was it when you were 16?
Yeah, that is correct. However, as I always point out, that I always say I'm a latchkey kid from Iowa. And as a child, I always knew things about people. I always saw lights around people. I always knew things. I had encounters with ETs, angels, other dimensional beings, and of course, or unfortunately, I should say, I was always told, "Don't talk about that. Why do you know that? Don't say that. You shouldn't know that." And I was told that I was crazy. I have no idea what you're talking about, and that's just stupid. And so, unfortunately, you learn not to trust yourself. You learn because there's so many. You know what you experience, you know what you see. That you're being told that you're crazy, and so by the time I was, I want to say 13, 14 years old. I was turning to drugs and alcohol because I didn't want to see stuff anymore. I didn't want to know things anymore. I didn't want to feel stuff anymore. And so that accumulated to a high school party at the Canterbury Inn in Coralville, Iowa in 1986, where I chugged a fifth of vodka, 4 beers, 2 glasses of wine, and probably about 4 wine coolers in about 90 minutes.
Oh my God.
And so my body went into cardiac arrest from acute alcohol poisoning. Andrena, my skin was green, purple, and black. And I was completely unconscious and dead on the floor of the bathroom at the hotel suite at Canterbury in Coralville, Iowa. And the next thing I knew, I left my body. I was having a near-death experience, and I was trying to call out to my high school friends, my classmates who just, not that long ago were going, go, 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 chug, 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 chug. And of course, anyone that's had a near-death experience will tell you that, when you first leave your body, it's scary because all of a sudden you realize that you're not in your body anymore. Mm. And then I was greeted by my grandfather, Russell, who passed away when I was around 3 years old. And I knew who it was immediately, even though I have real vague memories of him. And then I went into the light, and there was like the Elohim. The Elohim in the Old Testament refers to those who sing hymns to God. And you hear this beautiful angelic music. There's all this peace, all this love, and all this harmony. And then they took me to these angels, and I was guided to these angels. They were about 7 feet tall. And there were 7 angels. They were 14 feet tall each. They were female in appearance. And there was a review of my life. And anytime I was angry, resentful, or blamed other people, and of course, that's all that we really ever do when we're teenagers, they asked, how does that relate to love? And everything in our life is an opportunity to express love. Forgiving is forgiving your love away. If you're always forgetting the car, the house, the Rolex watch, the material stuff, if you're always forgetting those things, forgetting them, you are forgetting who you really are. And they introduced me to a being that was probably about 30 feet tall and had a tremendous amount of love for me and compassion for me. And in this multi-dimensional universe, you're aware of that your Mark, who was in my body from conception to 16, to this other being that was 30 feet tall. And they explained to me, or Russell actually basically told me that I was going home, that Mark was going on with him. And so I thought, wow, I really messed up. I kind of dropped the ball in that experience. And the angels and this being, like in a telepathic communication, described in great detail sacred geometry, healing through sound, frequencies, vibrations, parallel lives, parallel universes, past lives, and the Melchizedek priesthood and this hierarchy system. And in an instant, this 30-foot being that was male in appearance, that had tremendous love and compassion for me, formed into an icosahedron, which is a Platonic solid, and entered my body into my heart and brought me back to life. So in a sense, I'm a walk-in. So I walked in from higher dimensional levels of consciousness and awareness to come back through time and space into a 16-year-old body. And, for about 3 or 4 days, I was receiving a lot of information about timelines and different things about my own life. And everyone seemed to be about this big. And especially my mom, yeah, it was really confusing as to where I was and what was going on. And about the 4th or 5th day, everything snapped back into place. That I was Mark. I was a sophomore in Iowa City, Iowa, going to West High School, and that was my mom, and it's kind of what this is who I was. And so I embodied the life of Mark Patterson.
Wow. Yeah, amazing. So how did you deal with things after it's been at such a, like 16 is still a young age, isn't it? And if obviously you haven't got the family support of understanding what you've been through or anything.
So, yeah, I mean, people ask me that all the time, and so I was kind of socially awkward and shy, before this happened. And then, my gosh, the whole thing made me even more psychic. It made me more intuitive. I started knowing things more. In fact, a couple months after that, I was up in Door County, Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, with a childhood friend. And one morning I went because Peter and I had played in a baseball tournament. I played baseball back then. And I went to Peter's mother one morning and I said, look, you need to call your daughter and tell her not to come up. Her daughter had just gotten engaged and they were coming up to join the family. And I was just real adamant. I said, your daughter shouldn't be here now. And Peter's mom was like, I know that we're arguing and you're not used to us seeing that. It's going to be okay. I go, no, you don't understand. She shouldn't be here. And then later that night, I was like, she can't be here. You need to call her and tell her not to come. Well, they got kind of upset with me and they basically put me on the Greyhound bus next morning and sent me back to Iowa. And unfortunately, their daughter was killed in a car accident on the way up, going up from Iowa to Wisconsin. And I was like, this is crap. I did what you told me to do. And now you have, now someone's dead. And so I didn't drink alcohol, but I think I smoked marijuana, hashish, sensimillion. I did something almost every day from 16 to 19 because I didn't want to feel, I didn't want to know, I didn't want to sense anything. And around the age of 18, I was introduced to Dick Sutphin. Dick Sutphin wrote the book, You Were Born Again to Be Together. Simon, I think it sold like 6 or 7 million copies. It's about soulmates and reincarnation. and that we've been here many lives. And it jarred some of the things I was told when I crossed over. And then I was introduced to Jerry Bowman and Joe Albiani. Jerry Bowman was a Vietnam vet. He was a trance channel. Joe Albiani was an attorney out of Boston. Now, most people have probably never heard of Jerry Bowman or Joe Albiani, but you've heard of Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine's channel was Kevin Ryerson, or medium, and Kevin Ryerson was channeling John the Apostle. Well, Jerry Bowman was channeling John the Apostle. Jerry would go into a trance state and John would speak through him. Well, after listening to John a few times on cassettes, they did the Out of the Ordinary show in Los Angeles, California on KIEV. Listening to John a few times, I found John speaking to me just like you and I are talking right now. And John would say things like, we never use the truth to be right. We never use the truth to make others wrong. We never use the truth to score points for ego. The kingdom of God is within you. Why do you seek anything else? A master is not called a master because he himself says so. A master is called master because those who witness him say that he is master. And I mean, there was a lot of, profound information. And John Lazarus and many others spoke to me for many years, especially in my dreams from about 18 to 25. And unfortunately, when you're 18, 19 years old, there's too many blondes, there's too many brunettes. There's Nature Boy Ric Flair, woo, and there's and sports and things, and so you get distracted, and 30 some years later, you go, maybe I should have listened a little bit more. Maybe I should have, paid attention a little bit more. John recently has come back to me in my dreams and has given me started giving me messages again. So and I was shooting all this information, and but these things are real, and that's what's really sad on this planet is that we make contact with ETs or aliens, and we're told that we're crazy. And I wish that we would take a moment to listen to children rather than shun or shame them for what they know. The planet might be on a different level of consciousness right now.
There's so many gifted children on the planet now, isn't there, that they've got so much wisdom, and some of them, their eyes are just incredible.
Right. So my path continued. A few years later, I was living in Charleston, South Carolina. My background is hospitality. I've been a fine dining server for more years than I care to admit. It's the only thing I've done that's allowed me to travel all over the world and still, keep the lights on. And at the time, I read the book. We talked about this before the show. Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak. I talked about the Matrix, sacred geometry, this being an illusion, and ETs, the ET influence, the reptilian influence, especially people in our high-level officials. And then I was also watching the videotapes called The Flower of Life. So this was like 92, 93. The Flower of Life with Drunvalo Melchizedek, sacred geometry, about the pyramids, the Fibonacci sequence, the phi ratio. And this guy comes into our restaurant, and every night, no matter what section I'm in, he ends up in my section, which is impossible, right? And back then at 82 Queen, we were doing 400, 500 people a night back then.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was the restaurant in town back in the early 90s, mid 90s. And so this guy ends up in my section every night in a row. And the last night that he's there, he's with his family. And we have an hour and a half wait. I'm running 6 tables. I'm in the weeds. And I'm taking his order and just, hey, we're here we are again, And this angelic voice, this female voice comes to me and I can kind of see her at the kind of the side here to my right, and she goes, "We need you to talk to him." And they're pointing. His name was Sean. I did not know that at the time. We need you to talk to him about the videotapes you're watching right now. I'm going, yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
What am I going to say to this guy? So I flat out said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm too busy right now. And they're like, no, you really need to do this. So Andrena, I go to leave from the table, and I get physically pushed back by an unseen force back in front of the table. True story. So they're like, no, this is really important that you do this. It's really important that you do this. So I'm thinking about, what the hell am I going to ask this guy? So I go, "Are you a mathematics professor?" I mean, what am I going to say? And he looks at me and he goes, "Mark, what did you really want to ask me?"
Really? I love it.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm watching these videotapes about sacred geometry, the pyramids, which I'm sure you know nothing about. And he goes, "Drunvalo Melchizedek, you have those videotapes? How did you get those videotapes? I have to have those videotapes." And I find out what his name is, and because back then he really didn't ask what the guest's name is, it's more common now. He didn't do it back then. And so his name is Sean, his name is Roger. His son, who's my age, was Sean. His name is Roger. So Roger goes, he tells me, he's like, "I have to have the videotapes." I tell Roger, "They're not mine, but I will call Rose Marie, who gave them to me, and see if I can give them to you." So it was late at night by the time I got home. So the next morning I call Rose Marie and I go, "Hey, this guy is adamant that he has to have these videotapes. I've kind of watched them a few times. I think I've got it. And can I give them to him?" And Rose Marie just goes, "Sure, I guess so." So a few months later passes by, and again I go to work that morning. And as I get to work, the female angel comes back to me, the same one that told me to talk to Roger about the videotapes. And she goes, "We need you to go to your manager." And her name was Missy, Melissa Miller, Missy. And "We need you to go home." I'm like, "I just got here. They're expecting me to work today. It's like, what are you talking about?" They go, "No, just, it'll be okay." They always tell you it's going to be okay, right? That's one of the favorite things they'd say. "Hey, Missy, I'm not feeling well. Is it okay if I go home?" She's like, "Yeah, I guess so. We're not going to be that busy today anyway." And so as I leave, and back then it took me about 20-25 minutes to walk from work to where I lived. The angel comes back to me, and she goes, "Please go directly to your apartment," or was it a carriage home? A carriage house, which is common down in Charleston. "Please don't stop anywhere on the way." So Andrena, as I go home, as I open the door, the phone rings. It's Roger calling me from France. And he says, "How would you like to work with Drunvalo Melchizedek in person?"
Mm.
I'm like, "Yeah, where is it at? What's going on? What do I need to do?" And it was in Copecrest, North Carolina, or Copecrest, Georgia, which is actually really close to where I'm at now. It's on the North Carolina. I don't think you can pull it up on the map anymore, but it's real close to the North Carolina, Georgia state line. And he said, "Everything's been paid for. Thank you for the videotapes." So I got to spend about, this is November of 93. I got to spend about 10 or 12 days with Drunvalo. That's when he was still teaching the actual Flower Life seminars, and he was doing 12, they were like 10, 12-hour days. And so I got to I got to do that. And why I've told this story many, many times, because it shows that we are guided, and that I really am convinced that, life was never meant to be a struggle, but we struggle with who we really are. And that inner struggle becomes in this reflective quality, because one of the 7 truths of the Essenes, and Jesus wasn't a Essene, is that everything in life is a reflection of you, and everything is a mirror of you. And so as we learn not to resist ourselves, as we learn not to struggle and resist who we really are, that path of least resistance unfolds for us. And we get to that path of least resistance through meditation, through being still, through being quiet. But we are guided. I mean, I've told, based on my near-death experience and countless other people's, one, you've never done anything wrong. I know that's hard to get, but the reality is that there are only actions and consequences. We put all this guilt, shame, fear around the things that we do. They're only actions and consequences. Second of all is that you are loved. You are loved immensely. And since my near-death experience, about 3 or 4 times, I've been allowed to return to heaven, I guess what you call it, and as a reminder of how much, I am and we are loved. And the other thing is that you're never alone. Your guides, your angels are always with you. And of course, people will ask over and over again, if there's so much love, if God loves us so much, there's all this love that you talk about, why do bad things happen to good people? Right? Why does life suck? Well, you wanted someone to forgive, or you wanted to be forgiven. You agreed this time I am going to show the power of love. I am going to show the power of love, compassion, and forgiveness, and what it can overcome. The greatest example, and this is what Christians talk about when they talk about that Jesus, quote, died on the cross because he loved the world so much, or that, kind of that line, Immaculée, her name is Immaculée, Rwanda, Congo, 1994, Civil War broke out, great atrocities. She was on Oprah. She's been on countless shows. She and 7 other people had to live in a bathroom for 91 days to survive the civil war that broke out in Rwanda, the Congo. And after all the dust settled, she was given the opportunity. They gave her like a baseball bat and a machete. And they kind of found the main perpetrators of who really set off the Civil War and who were responsible for killing all of her family members. And they said, do whatever that you want to with this guy. And she didn't do it. She really expressed love and forgiveness and compassion, and that's really what it's all about, to express love no matter what happens to you, which is, again, what we started the show with, or my story with, is forgiveness, is forgiving your love away no matter what happens. And of course, we forget all that. We forget the power of love, and we get into our anger, resentment, or blame, or jealousy. We forget that we make contracts with individuals. We make soul agreements. Psalm 139:16 says, every day of my life was recorded in your book before a single one had passed. Back in the 1800s, they were called predestined Presbyterians. And I do believe that much of our life is predestined, that we plan it out before we come here. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. We choose our parents. We choose where we live. We choose our circumstances. And we at a soul level, we say that we are going to show the power of love. And then here we have a mind and ego, and instead we show the dysfunction of fear, and the chaos of fear rather than the power of love. And going back to what John told me, 30 some years ago, the kingdom of God is within you. Why do you seek anything else? I think that's a really powerful statement. And he wouldn't just say that to me. He would say that, or someone just posted the Course in Miracles out. That's very true. That's came from the teachings of Jesus. And, I'm going to share this because I think this is, and I've said this to people, and because I've done expos and conferences all over the world. I've spoken in front of before Dolores Cannon at the Wake Up Now conference back in just before she passed away. I think she passed away in 2012. So this is 2011. And I've talked about this, and we talked about this before going on the air, that, Christians say that Jesus is the Son of God or God because it says so in a book that they wrote. Jews claim that they are the chosen people because it says so in a book that they wrote. Islam or Muslims say that Islam is the one true religion because it says so in a book that they wrote. I mean, the concepts of being chosen and being saved they're all man-made concepts, and they are the very thing that keeps us separated. We have God, you don't. We're saved, you're not. It keeps people in fear and separation of each other. So from my own near-death experience, religions are a great disservice to humanity. And I mean, look at the Inquisitions, the Crusades, the witch. The church didn't kill witches; they killed women and children. The greatest, the Catholic Church, in my opinion, is the most corrupt institution on the planet has ever seen. The Inquisitions, the Crusades, they committed genocide against Native Americans on not one but two continents. The pedophile priests. I mean, I can go on, and you know what? It's all done in the name of God.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and we talked about this before going on the show, that the conflict that you see in Israel and Palestine has been going on for 40,000 years. It began with the Anunnaki brothers, Anil and Inkel, the two brothers, that because one group wanted humans to remain slaves to mine the gold for the Anunnaki, and the other group wanted the humans to be free. So it's the same. I mean, it's the same story over and over again. We have God, you don't. This land belongs to us. This land, no, it's our land. And the Native American said it the best: the land doesn't belong to you; you belong to it.
Totally.
Yeah. So I just, I think there's a lot of truths in some of the scriptures, but the most important scripture that is least read, the most important scripture that is least read is the scripture of your own heart, the scripture of your own soul. And that is where you will find, real truth. Not, Billy Carson talks about this, the Bible was never written in real time. It was, no one was dictating what Jesus said as he was saying it. The Christian Bible that you read now, it started in 325 AD by Roman Emperor Constantine. He canonized certain books, the books of truth, the books of Mary, the books of Thomas, the book of Judas was all removed from the Bible because they put the power of God within the individual and not the power of God in the church. And then in 553 AD, karma and reincarnation removed from the Christian Bible at the Second Council of Constantinople by the Nicene decree. So, I mean, as you know, that if I tell you a story by the time that story reaches to the 12th or 15th person, it's a completely different story.
Yeah, what a story.
Right, it's a completely different story. Well, you can you imagine what happens to a story that doesn't get written until 325, 340 AD by a guy that wants to control the masses?
Yeah.
And the original symbol for Jesus was not the cross. The original symbol for Jesus was the dolphin. And that's why a lot of, like in modern times, you'll see the fish on the back of the car, but back then it was the vertical fish, the walking fish. According to the Dogons, who are in the west coast of Africa, and we've since the 40s and 50s, we the United States has sent countless physicists and astronomers over there because their knowledge of planets, constellations, orbits, they know stuff about that they should have no way of knowing. And they say very clearly that Jesus was a dolphin and that he came from the star system Sirius. And that's why the original symbol for Jesus was a fish. They're called nomos. And the nomos you'll see depicted over in Wales. There's a lot of, and I think there's some depiction of them in Australia as well. And then it was Chi-Rho, which is like the cross, the two-plane cross with kind of like a P shape that's backwards, which meant Christos. The cross didn't come until 425 AD. So it's been a kind of a strange evolution of the symbol of Jesus and what he taught. Yeah. And I feel like I'm rambling on here.
No, it's honestly, it's fascinating and it makes so much sense. And talking of dolphins, I absolutely love dolphins and have swum with dolphins and everything. So right up my alley, that bit was.
Well, yeah, I've done a couple of dolphin swims, and there's a real interesting story about that. There was a lady that and the humans are not the most evolved species on the planet. Dolphins are. And so there's a real interesting story that Jamie Price in Sedona tells. She's a medium. And she said that this woman went to do a dolphin swim. And she decided not to do it because the dolphin was captive. Right? She had a lot of judgments about the dolphin being captive, so she decided not to do it. And Jamie received this information from the dolphin and said, did it ever occur to the woman that that woman robbed the dolphin of the experience of her and her energy?
Totally.
That was something that the dolphin wanted to experience. And so the moral of the story is don't rob the planet from you. Don't hide. Don't rob the wonderful human being that you are. We are all wonderful human beings with so much to share, and we get caught up in our fears, our insecurities, our doubts, our self-judgment, and cast away your delusions. I'm with all due respect to Michael Beckwith, he and I have spoken before, and I've met him many times, that I've been telling people that you are it, you're the answer for 30 some years. So again, God is within you. You're it.
Thing is, we're not taught schools, and nobody teaches you that. They don't want you to know to tap into your own power, do they? That's the sad part of it all.
There's only one, to my knowledge, there's only one group of individuals that teach children from day one that they're not separate from God, and that is the Polynesian culture, the Hunas that you find in Polynesia, Samoa, and the Hawaiian Islands. The Native Americans get into more of the earth, that you're not separate from earth, because the Native American term for God is Wanka Tonka, which is the great mystery. They had so much reverence for God that they couldn't contemplate it, so that they called it the great mystery. And the Native Americans of the Southwest, particularly the Hopi and Anasazi, the Huna culture and the Aboriginals in Australia are really the three cultures that teach that you have to really connect with Earth first and foremost before you can connect with God. And yet we constantly are destroying the planet. We're destroying the very thing that keeps us alive. I mean, it's total insanity. Yeah, I mean, and all the energy, it's like, they talk about, you really want to heal yourself. Walk barefoot, put your feet on the ground. That's where you receive when you hug trees or touch trees, or you get your feet on the earth, you get your feet on the grass, you receive the negative ions. The negative ions is what gives you energy. That's where free energy comes from. 0 point technology comes from, because it's all here. It's all here right now.
Yep. Yeah, and that's right. And I often look at these flats in like abroad, really, and there's layer after layer after layer, and I think, God, all these people are so ungrounded. They've got no back gardens, and not every one of them goes into nature. So I do find that
when you walk around the trees, they've shown that it calms you down. It lowers your blood pressure. That's a fact. So speaking of nature, I guess I should talk about sound healing, because
let's get to the nitty gritty now, because that's my passion, is sound and healing. So
right. So I'll have to go back to the Hopi and the Anasazi, because the Hopi and Anasazi elders would sing to their crops. And they showed that when they sing to the crops, they would produce kernels of corn the size of most men's thumbs. It's also said that in the Hopi legend, it says that grandmother Spider Woman sung the web of existence of the universe. The word universe means one song. The word person is Greek for persona, through sound, right? And then, excuse my French, but when people orgasm, they tend to make this instead of an sound. Now, what's interesting about the sound is that Buddha, Yogananda, Krishna, Sai Baba, Mir Baba, and Jesus' name was, they say his name was Yeshua or Yeshuva. Others believe his name was Yahuwah. So the sound is in is all the master's name, and they found that when you do the sound and you run it through like Hans Gen cymatics, that sound produces the Sir Yantra. It produces the geometric shape of the Sir Yantra, which is the 27 interlaced triangles, which is the Hindu symbol for God. And it doesn't kind of look like it. Doesn't, maybe if I tilt it at an angle, it'll look. No, it makes it, and it makes it each and every time. So the sound is the sound of creation itself. And of course, in the Judeo-Christian Bible, it says in the beginning was the Word, was the sound, was the Word of God. Now, there is a farmer, Dan Carlson, in Wisconsin, and he found out about Rive technology because his wife was having health challenges. And Rive technology is just the idea that you can run it like with gallstones and kidney stones. Medical doctors run a sound wave through gallstones and kidney stones, and they break it up. Well, if you have a cancerous tumor, it's kind of the same thing. Greg Braden shows in a video, like an X-ray, like a sonogram, that he takes sound waves and Qigong healing, and they dissolve a tumor in 3 minutes. It's live. It's like a live sonogram. So Dan Carlson got interested in Rive technology, which is in viruses are crystalline structure, right? You have an alto, soprano singer. They can break up crystalline structure, crystal glass, right? Same concept. This is not, it's not too way out there to understand this. So Dan became fascinated with sound and sound waves, and he knew about the Hopi legends and the Hopi myths of singing to crops to create them to grow. So he found that when he ran a 5,000 hertz frequency into the fields, it was like 4,000 or 5,000 hertz frequency into the fields, that it generated a 400% greater yield. I didn't say 40, I said 400% greater yield sound wave through the hertz, right? The 5,000 hertz frequency into the sound. Well, then he became fascinated with everything in nature. What is it vibrating at? What is its frequency? Well, Andrena, he found that when birds chirp in the morning, they sing at 5,000 hertz. Birds are literally singing life into the planet every morning, but let's kill all the birds, right? You know,
Yeah.
We're freaking morons, you know. And then when crickets chirp at night, they sing at 2,000 hertz per second. They're literally closing everything down. Everyone, you know, got into the uproar about over here in the United States about the cicada broom, the brood that's going on, the two cycles, a 13-year cycle and 17-year cycle merging. What they don't realize is that the cicadas vibrate. They're vibrating. Mm. They're helping raise the energy of the planet. You know, I mean, we just instantly go into fear. It's ridiculous. You know, the word apocalypse doesn't mean doom and gloom. The word apocalypse is French for removing the veil. Mm. And that's, you know, and that's what's happening right now. I don't like the word ascension. We're not really ascending. We are restoring earth to heaven. We are remembering who we really are. We are returning, or we are restoring our spiritual gifts. That is what's unfolding on the planet, because all the dimensional realities are right here, right now. Mm. You know, you see those images, like you look at it one way and there's one image, you turn another way, there's another image, you turn it a third way, and there's like 3 or 4 images, but they're all in the same plane, right? They're just merely superimposed on top of each other. And depending on what light reflects back to you determines what you see. Well, that's the nature of reality. What light frequency you see determines your level of consciousness. And this is why the Aztecs and the Mayans said that this is an illusion. New Age people can get into their heads and say it's an illusion. It's real. It's an illusion because you only see about 2% of the light spectrum that's out there. Mm-hmm. We know that bees see colors that we can't see. We know that dogs hear sounds that we can't hear. It doesn't mean that they don't exist. It's just we are not in tune to them. We are not in alignment with them. I like the word alignment because it's about being in aligned with, you know, who you are. You know, I see auras. I see the things like you go to Glendalough over in Ireland, or you go up to Findhorn up in Scotland, and you know, you see the nature spirits, the elves and fairies. And I've been seeing. So I lived in Sedona, Arizona, from like 2002 to 2016, somewhere around there. But I first went to Sedona in 1989, and I went to Airport Rock, and I saw them as a kid, but something about being on that vortex at Airport Rock opened that up again. So since I was 19 years old, I've been seeing the sprites, the fairies, the elf. So they're real, you know. It's part of mainly out of Celtic folklore, but you know they're definitely real, and they're always, you know, the earth beings are always helping us. You know, they're wanting us to treat the planet better.
Mm-hmm. And more people have got an awareness now, haven't they? Their field is opening up. They're feeling different, and they're not sure what they're feeling or what they're seeing. But there is definitely a huge awareness happening now, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I just had a client when we were talking about that earlier that she's never done meditation, she's never done yoga, never really had a spiritual practice, and boom. She's starting to see stuff. She's starting to see people that have passed on. She's starting to see energy. So she reached out to me and says, "What's going on?" Well, you're awakening. We're all awakening. And this is what we're, this is the opportunity for humanity. Are we going to evolve? Are we going to return Earth? Or are we going to return heaven to Earth? Or are we going to merge with AI? Are we going to merge with, quote, the beast? I mean, the biggest threat to humanity is AI. And there's no other way. I mean, I think there's some things about AI that, like doing creative things or helping diagnose and helping treat illness is good. But there's aspects of AI that are extremely
not so good.
Yeah. Right. And that this is our choice. This is our opportunity is to awaken, to remember. It's about remembering because it's already within you. So I guess I got sidetracked, but going back to that thing about those pictures and dimensional, all the dimensional realities are right here, right now. And it's whether you allow yourself or you're in alignment with them. If you were in alignment with them, you would see them, you would sense them, you would feel them, but they're all right here. Jesus said, the house I live in is contained within many mansions. He was talking about the multidimensional aspects of reality. So this is a multidimensional, there are parallel lives. And in fact, we tend to incarnate with about 20 or 30 people that we call our soul family. And it's also that your oversoul can take on 2 or 3 lives at the same time. And we call those parallel lives. Now, I've shared this with people on my podcast. I've been told in my dreams for the last, I want to say 10 years, that the rock star, Sammy Hagar, according to my dreams, is one of my parallel lives. Now, I've never met Sammy. I'm just sharing what I've been told in my dreams. And for some reason, that resonates with me because the song When Love Comes Walking In is about making contact with aliens. And to my knowledge, he does believe in it. But, I'm just going by I receive a lot of information in my dreams.
Yeah.
So I guess this is a story I want to share because this is really important for people to understand. And then we'll see where we're at with everything. I hope I'm not boring anyone to death. So.
Oh, far from it.
Okay.
It's fantastic. Keep going.
All right. I feel like sometimes I'm like a walking encyclopedia of new age information. So in 2009, I spoke at the East West bookstore for about 150 people. And a lady had a severely autistic child. And he was a male boy, probably 7 or 8 years old. And he wore a mask as a way to hide from society, to protect himself from society. He was very antisocial. And in fact, it took him about 7 times to come back to where I was at because he kept running out of the building because he didn't want anything to do with me, didn't want anything to do with the session. But his mom was convinced that I was going to somehow save or fix him. And I finally kind of got irritated with her. And I said, I'm not going to save or fix your son. It's like, no, you're this amazing sound healer. You're supposed to do this stuff. And I go, no, your son's fine. No, stop, lady. Just stop. Just sit down over there. If it doesn't work, go get your money back. I don't care. So Abraham told me about a week before in my dreams that if I really wanted to help this kid, to become still with him. Sure, why not? So I must have had a lot of guides and angels around me because I created a Zen state almost instantly. And it usually takes me a while to go into a real deep meditative state. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, I hear this voice say, open your eyes and see what's about to happen. So this severely autistic child wearing a mask who ran out of the store 6 or 7 times, who clanged onto his mother for everything that he had just to get back to that room, pulled his mask off. He had a tear in his eye. And he looks at me and goes, I've been waiting for you. And he starts talking to me for 20 or 30 minutes as if we were old friends. His mom is in complete disbelief. She doesn't know what to think. And she says, how did you do that? I go, it's because I created, or I allowed, an energetic space that accepted him for who he is. As long as you say, why can't you talk? Why aren't you like your brother? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? He's going to remain behind that mask because you don't accept him as he is. And this is what these autistic children have been trying to teach us, is that you will find that most autistic children, even those that are antisocial, are very content with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Most normal kids are not, quote, normal. So they are teaching us, or trying to get us to remember, to be human beings, not human doings, because that's all we do. So I get sidetracked so much. We got to go back to sound. So sound healing. So what I do, so now that you understand why sound is so important, what I do is I literally channel pure tones, and people have called me a human singing bowl for years. I allow the pure tones to come through me, and we have found since 1997. So, in fact, and when I first started doing it, so my near experience was 86. In 96, 10 years after I had my near experience, I got a phone call from a woman I never met, never spoke with before. I kind of don't know how she got my number. And she described to me everything that I was told when I crossed over about sacred geometry, sound, healing through sound, the Melchizedek priesthood. And she said, you have this amazing gift with sound that you really don't understand or don't know about. And a few months after that phone call, I started doing the vocal toning. The tone started to come through me. And I remember the first time I presented it was August 17th of 1997 at the Mastering Live Center in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is where I went to undergraduate and graduate school. At New Mexico State University, the tones would come through me. I literally, it's like a singing bowl. And after doing it for about 10 or 15 minutes, I opened my eyes and saw that people were they were out, like when a hypnotist goes sleep. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it over and over again. I've had 400 people. I've had 5 people in front of me, and I've had 400 or 500 people in front of me. And the sound that comes through me has its own consciousness, its own awareness. And it knows that if person A has pain in their lower back, person B has pain in their hip, person C has pain in their neck, it'll go to each individual's greatest point of pain and break it up. And what that sound does is it gets you to focus on one thing, that sound, so you're able to let go and release everything else that your mind is going on to. The other thing it does is it clears your space. The reason why people can't sleep at night is because they carry so much stuff into their energetic field before going on to bed. They go arguments they had with their kids, arguments they had with the spouse, they're not happy at work. They carry all that stuff into their energy field before going to bed at night. And so what the sound does, and my sound files are available on my website, is that those sounds clear energy field out so that you can actually relax and let go, because sleep is so important to you. Mm-hmm. It's another aspect of reality. In fact, the Native Americans taught that dream world. I think Aboriginals do this as well, that the dream time is just as important as the waking time, if not more so. So the woman who called me at 1:30 in the morning, she's a real person. I met her. We met up at the Four Corners Monument, and then I met her up in Oregon. But I have not heard anything from her since 1999. I really don't know what happened to her. So,
but she gave you the information, eh?
She validated, because when you're 16 years old and you have that experience, you kind of wonder, was that real? Did that really happen? And then she basically really validated that whole thing, and really, because when I was a kid, I used to dream over and over again that all the gifts I didn't go to Disneyland until I was like 37 years old. All the gifts, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, feeling love, feeling that you belonged was inside my bedroom closet. And I would dream over and over again as a child that I was inside my bedroom closet, where I felt loved, where I felt that I was wanted, where all the gifts, all the magic was found inside my bedroom closet. Well, 40 years later, you realize that the dream about inside the bedroom closet was about inside your own heart.
Mm.
She also told me about that dream too. She knew about that dream.
Wow. Yeah, because I get a lot of information in dreams. I can't always understand them, but I've been a dreamer for years and years. So yeah. So how does one switch that so you can understand what they're about? Because sometimes I think, God, what in the hell was that about?
Well, I think one of the things is sometimes you receive direct information.
Mm.
Don't go to Zimbabwe or whatever. Don't go to Morocco. Like I've had dreams about being invited to Morocco and I get kidnapped. So if anyone invites me to Morocco, the answer is no. Right. So, but other people will say that, when you dream about other people in your dreams, it's actually just you. And so what is that person representing to you in your life? And it's about figuring that out, they'll say that, like someone from your past is coming into your life. Well, that person may come back into your life, or it may be someone that is energetically identical to that person that was in your past. That happens to me a lot. They'll say so and so, and then after interacting with the person, oh, you're just like, right. Because we tend to create the same things over and over again until we evolve. The word evolve is the only word in our dictionary that has the word love in it. Mm. That's what we're here to do. Is we're here to evolve. So
definitely. Because I know that you're a hypnosis and you do past life regression, and you also do Qigong. So is this your full-time work now, or have you got other work besides doing all these other things?
No, my background is still the restaurant hospitality industry. Yeah. So I mean, and I do.
So it's the balance then, I suppose, eh?
Right, and I would love to get out there and speak in front of large groups of people again. And I think the last thing I did was 2017, probably January of 2017, with James Twyman happened to be up there, and James Twyman wrote the Moses Code and Spiritual Warrior, and he was in the audience, and I started talking, and he took his video camera out and started videotaping my talk. I took it as a compliment. So
yeah, of course.
I like his I like his work a lot. He's doing a lot, some of the world peace stuff. Assisi, Saint Francis of Assisi, the Peace Village. Yeah, I think that's what he's doing now. So, but yeah, I mean, I would love, and then I have my universal power cards available as well, the sound files. I resisted for years. I had people say, well, why don't you do past life regression via Zoom? I said, I don't want to do that. And then finally I started doing them, and I found them to be tremendously successful. I mean, much more successful than I ever imagined. And or just regular hypnosis sessions via Zoom are very successful. Yeah, you are the abundance. You are the abundance that you're seeking. And then I have the one that's about validation. But I think my favorite one is the presence, and you are the way. I love that. Yeah, God believes in you. Yeah. So yeah, my father was a holy roller, so I can.
Holy roller.
He was a holy roller, Southern Baptist, brimstone and fire. Boy, he had the Bible memorized, and I remember he would go, Mark, you just get me so confused. I just don't know what to think, Mark. But he had a real hard time with my practice the presence. I like that one a lot. Yeah.
So you designed all these?
Some of them, yes, I did. Yeah. Others, stuff I got some help with it. Well, that's my favorite one right there. You are the way. I love that one. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Contact with Amy, what's her name, and Jeremy Renner, where the hoptopods come and they speak with their language, which is that, that type of bring around it. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Contact with Jodie Foster.
Yeah. No, that's
so.
Sorry. The Arrival. The Arrival. Beg your pardon.
The Arrival. I don't know that one. But
okay.
The movie Contact with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey, and then Stargate with Kirk Russell and James Spader. Both of those came from Drunvalo. I mean, Drunvalo was kind of behind the scenes and taking ancient Egyptian information, multidimensional information, putting things together from a higher dimensional reality to create counter-rotating fields of energy around the body to access other dimensions. It's the Merkaba meditation. They just put it into a movie. Like the sorcerer, like Merlin the sorcerer, magicians, what their staff is made out of? What is a staff of magician and sorcerer made out of?
What is in
holly.
Really?
The holly tree. Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's a nice one.
Yeah, turn your wounds into opportunities. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, embrace your mistakes. Yeah, they're part of who you are. It's about self-love. Yeah. Right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Do you think you could give us a little tone now with your voice? Would that be possible?
Let me see. I don't know. In general, it doesn't. It tends to cut out through tech. That's why I have like a $200 Sennheiser microphone. I have a audio mixer. I have a nice Marantz, and we've tried to do sound healing online. And those people, for some reason, the tones they cut out. So I don't.
Well, thank you anyway.
I don't know.
We had a lady years and years ago come on the radio station, and she talked about Dr. Tomatis' work, the French ear, nose, throat specialist with sound therapy. So when you started the tone, I thought, oh, that's interesting, because it's not a tone that you would hear from a male, particularly.
Yeah, I can get really the drones, get into the drone sounds of the didgeridoo. I can go a little bit higher than the one I just did. So. But the human voice is the most remarkable tool that humans have. I just you cannot underestimate how powerful your voice is. I remember in 2005 when I went over to Ireland, I was over in the UK for 4 weeks, and I was in Dublin, and there was a soprano and alto soprano outside in the streets of Dublin singing, and there was 30 people, and we were all on our knees. It was one of the most angelic experiences I've ever heard in my life from a human voice. And sound is, the Gregorian chants, or listening to someone like Pavarotti, those things just take us to otherworldly places, or they create stillness in the body. And Edgar Cayce was the famous psychic who said that, sound would be the medicine of the future. Well, we believe that future is here now.
I'll tell you something that make you laugh is when I was doing voice workshops, when I take people through the tones, then at the end I would do the R sound. So I'd get everybody to just do the R, and over and over. And anyway, I was listening to people doing it, and I could hear them all going R. And I thought, oh my God, my accent! I had to explain and spell it so that they did it the right way. Like,
Right.
And I also
when we get people to do, like, I have a Starseeds group down in Charleston that I do once a month, and we get people to do sound, and all of a sudden the illusion of being separated disappears. The guy that just won the Nobel Prize for entanglement theory shows that there is no separation. What you do affects planets, affects solar systems, affects stars, because everything is woven together. There's everything is connected. It's connected. The Egyptians called it the net. They talk about the net or the grid or the web of the universe, and Jesus said, even when you hurt the least of your brother and you're hurting me. I wish religious leaders would read that line over and over again and burn it into their minds. My God. So that, there's really no you. It's a collective. We are a collective, and what's happening on the planet, why Earth is so important right now, is that when we do this thing that is unfolding right now and restoring heaven to earth, and the greens and the rivers of Africa shall be restored, as it says in the scripture. Not only is it what's going to happen here, is that it's going to create a domino effect, a chain reaction, where this awakening that starts here on this earth. This is why Earth is so important. That's why you have millions of beings lined up to be incarnated here right now, because they want to be a part of this expansion. Is that it's going to trigger awakenings throughout other galaxies, other time and space simultaneously. That's why Earth is so important right now.
I got gooses when you said all that. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, we're in the greatest time of history, and even though some of us say we didn't sign up for this, we did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Go on, Jeffrey. Hello.
I think.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was going to say, for toning, I found two remarkable places for toning, and one is in a lighthouse, because it's a cylindrical shape and it's tall. Apart from being a phallic symbol, it's just a case that when you get down there and you start to tone, the resonance goes up. It's quite surreal. The other thing is that when you spoke about trying to have digital recording, you might want to have to go to tape, because tape's got that warm sound on it. And of course, when Dr. Tomatis' work was done, it was actually done on tape, because it went from 50 hertz down up to 200,000 hertz, but you couldn't actually hear the tone, but he was able to get it onto those tapes. The second place is actually in the you can do it in multi-story car parks, but if you get it into the high-rise buildings where you got the stairwell, the fire stairwell, and you often see the stairwell is crisscrossed and it goes up like the DNA.
Right. Sure, yeah.
Yep. So you can start there, and you can actually, if you want to play with it, you can start on the ground and get the resonance going up, and you can actually record at, say, at the 10th level, at the 20th level, or the 30th level, depending on how high the building is. So you could actually record that tone, that R sound, or the E sound, or whatever you want to do. So you find that resonance is quite surreal.
Yeah, we had so the two places I found that were just mind-boggling to do toning was at Edfu in Egypt, which is the Temple of Horus. We did toning. And we always had armed guards around us just for our own protection. Not that I ever felt threatened over in Egypt. I've been there a few times. That we did the toning, and with my group of people, And then we went into a 10-minute meditation of silence. And as we were getting ready to come out of that meditation, that silence, the Temple of Edfu sang back to us. I mean, I think our tour guide about jumped out of his skin, and all the 30 or 40 armed men were, "Whoa,"
I bet.
they didn't know what to think. And then inside the Great Pyramid, inside the Great Pyramid in the King's Chamber, there's it's not really, they call it a sarcophagus. It's not really a sarcophagus, but when you hit it, it's granite and it chimes at the note of 8 sharp, which is usually what that tone of mine comes through, which is 396 hertz. We did toning in the King's Chamber. It was so unworldly. It was unreal. It was really magical and powerful. It was a really powerful experience. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to, I'm pretty good about responding to emails or questions. My website is mark-patterson.com, mark-patterson.com. I call it my Instagram ministry. It's at Sedona Mark Patterson. And my YouTube channel is Sedona Sound Healer or something like that. I never thought I was going to leave Sedona, so but I ended up leaving, and I'm not sure I'd go back. I know, so I'm looking. No? I'm looking more into Santa Fe, or I don't know, but we'll see. Mm. So anyway,
well,
do you have any other questions for me, or are we good on time? I think we probably rambled on.
Oh no, it's fantastic. I really love listening to your story and your sharing and everything. So, is there any words of wisdom you'd like to leave everyone with today?
The words of wisdom is that, God, whatever you think God is, higher power, divine power, Goddess is within you right now, today, right here, right now. And you don't have, that's the great illusion, the great lie that the TV minister tells you, is that you'll experience heaven when you leave your body. You'll experience heaven when you die. You don't have to wait until you die. I mean, heaven's right here, right now. And that's what, Jesus taught, that all the masters have said that, that God's presence is within you. And it's about aligning the atonement. The word atonement means at one-ment. Mm. So, and that's what, because if you remember who you really are, you've won the game. There's nothing else that matters. And as I lately, because I've devoted a lot of my life to Qigong and have downloaded a pretty powerful breathing technique, I am tapping into the higher dimensional realities, and you realize that there's no, as A Course in Miracles says, that you are eternal. The soul is eternal, and nothing that is eternal can ever be threatened. So there's really nothing to be afraid of, because you're it. God is within you right now, today. Don't wait to die in order to experience it. As you remember who you are bringing, and some of that comes from the pharaohs in Egypt, because as soon as you were named king, they planned for your afterlife. We kind of, it's like, what was it? Mel Gibson in Braveheart said, every man lives, or every man dies, very few actually live. Don't squander your life through resistance. And most people do, because we're afraid. We're afraid. You have a voice. Don't be afraid to share it.
Totally. Well, that was absolutely fascinating, Mark. I just really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you. I appreciate you.
Must be about after 6 for you now then. 20 past.
I know it's after. When did we start? 4:35. Yeah, it's probably after 6. Yeah.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute delight.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Andrena.
Mark, brilliant, mate. I'd like to have you back.
Yeah. Another time. Right. Oh, he's gone.
Oh, there he goes.
Right. Well.